Crooked Hillary. She is a crooked one. Crooked.
President Trump may have lied his way onto Forbes magazine annual list of richest Americans back in the 1980s.
The situation is so clear, the data affirm. If you get vaccinated, you are protected, even with the Delta variant.
If vaccines work, why are vaccinated people still banned from living normal lives?
Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest?
I always knew that the Matrix existed.
I actually don't know the details of that.
September 1st, cryptozoo.co.
They're actually not there to foster community, they're there to take advantage of you.
It's not correct that there is such a thing as biological sex.
I mean, there's biological differences between males and females in animals and human beings at every level of analysis. Rule 8 is tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Alright, hi guys, Jakin here. In the modern era with so many varying opinions on everything, I think it is really difficult and tricky to find the truth. Political opponents each claim that they have the real truth while ridiculing the opposing side for, spreading misinformation. Religious leaders claim that their church or their religion is the only truth and fight constantly over differing views and opinions. So, in this video, I want to talk about different aspects of truth and how it actually relates to our lives both in the short term and the long term. I am a firm believer in truth, and understanding what truth actually is, I think, is the first step to getting closer to it. And in this video, I will be referencing or alluding to many of Jordan Peterson's books and YouTube videos, since I think one of the defining traits of Jordan Peterson is that of saying truth, even if it means pain and perhaps discomfort in the short term. So, number 1 is pure and undeniable and unshakable truth. Is there such thing as pure and undeniable and unshakable truth, or is it always changing somehow? In the modern era, many of the society has turned to feelings and emotions when it comes to dealing with truth. They say that everything should and could be acceptable depending on the individual preferences and feelings, and society should allow them to, live under their personal and individual concepts of truth. I think this phenomenon denies the very essence of what truth actually is. Truth is something that is actually undeniable, unshakable. The very definition of truth is that which is true or in accordance with fact or reality. So yeah, I would say that there is such thing as pure and undeniable and unshakable truth. We might not know as humans what truth actually is, but we cannot deny the fact that the definition of truth is that which is unchanging and, rooted in actual reality. One of the areas that most societies unanimously accept as truth can be, seen in mathematics and numbers. 1 + 1 is 2. This fact does not change no matter your emotions and feelings, and it is rooted in reality of this universe. Point number 2 is debatable truth. Are there such thing as debatable truth? To this, I would say yes and no. The definition of truth, as I have pointed out, previously, means that it is definitive, that it is factual, and that it is a reality. This means it should not change. However, the knowledge of truth will change. Not every knowledge in this world is, black and white. Sometimes we do have to accept that not everything is concrete as far as our own knowledge of the truth goes. Certain truths, such as scientifically proven truths, can change over time, and certain aspects of religion are also debatable. In Christianity, there are many debates over many aspects of the scripture. Not one pastor can claim that they know the absolute truth about everything written in the Bible. However, to assume that we can change truth according to our liking is a dangerous supposition. Truth is absolute, and we must treat truth as sacred and not be meddled with. Once we accept that truth is whatever that we want it to be, we lose the ability to distinguish what's real and what's not real, and we lose the moral compass. Point number 3 about truth is the hierarchy of truth. Are all truths of the same importance? Seeing a person with a weird hat on and telling him his hat looks weird versus seeing a person's hat on fire and telling him that, for example, both are truth, but there is certainly a hierarchy of truth in that situation. So how would you assess which truth is of greater importance? Who gets to decide? Perhaps the hierarchy of truth can be defined as which truth makes a greater impact on your life. Those that are in power, in many cases, would rather have you be interested in the lesser truth to distract you from, the higher truth. Knowing who wins a Super Bowl or the World Cup, knowing the truth concerning the affair between Kanye and Kim, for example, can be categorized as, knowing truth. But how relevant is it in your life? Not really. So, what are some examples of truth that actually matter? I think there could be examples like, where are you from? Where are you going? Who created you? Which policies are best for your country? Who makes the rules of the society? How and why? Who gets to decide what you say and not say, and for what reason? These are some fundamental truths that we should dig deeper and understand at a deeper level. These are some examples of questions that I think are at the pinnacle of the hierarchy of truths. Point number 4 about truth is closer or further from the truth. Truth is not always 1 and 0. I think in many cases truth can be a spectrum. One can be closer to truth or further away from truth. When you look at a color, there is, for example, the color black and white, but there is also a spectrum of different gray tones, in between. Yes, perhaps the ultimate truth is black or white, but it is possible for someone to be closer to the truth or further away from the truth. For example, as science progressed over time, people became more and more closer to the truth, starting from thinking the world is flat and the center of the universe is this planet Earth, all the way to realizing that it's actually round and that it revolves around the sun and not the opposite, can be a prime example of how people can come closer and closer to the truth. So, point number 5, truth versus love. Do you choose to risk hurting someone to reveal truth, or do you choose to hide the truth as to not offend the others? What is right or moral or the wiser choice? Is avoiding truth to avoid hurting or offending the other actually love? Or is it in reality self-love? Jordan Peterson talks about saying the truth no matter what. Is that actually beneficial? One of the quotes that I read in his book, 12 Rules for Life, is as follows. Taking the easy way out or telling the truth, these are not merely two different choices. They are different pathways through life. They are utterly different ways of existing. I think, in the long run, in most cases, it is better to choose to communicate the truth with others, even if it means offending the other. Avoiding to tell the truth will end up hurting the relationship in the end. As Jordan Peterson quotes, if I tell the truth as carefully as I can, then whatever happens is the best that could have possibly happened in that situation, no matter how it looks. Yeah. Point number 6 is abuse of truth. I just talked about, truth and love, but is it possible that one can abuse others using truth? Does how you deliver truth matter? Or the simple fact of truth is all that matters? Donald Trump says crooked Hillary or boring Bush may be the truth, but is it beneficial, or is it out of love for the other person? Some people say, I like truth, and use that as an excuse to cross boundaries of others. I think each one of us have a certain boundary when it comes to relationships. You're comfortable saying certain things with some, not with others. Understanding such social boundaries and respecting them, but sticking with truth when needed is a necessary wisdom that we should develop as we grow in our character. Point number 7 is truth and pride. What does pride have to do with truth? I think pride oftentimes becomes like one of the key enemies to understanding truth. Pride makes you ignore the realities and blinds you from the obvious sometimes. I have seen leaders within organizations such as religious leaders, business CEOs, and other people of authority that take advantage of their given title or authority over others to manipulate and force their way without regards to the opinions and ideas of their subordinates. This oftentimes translates to bending the truth and creating an atmosphere where truth cannot be told, which is surely a recipe for disaster and failure in the long run. Alright, point number 8 is perceived truth versus actual truth. So, what is perceived as truth is oftentimes not the actual truth. Perceived truth is subjective and based on personal biases and experiences, while actual truth is objective and can be verified through research and investigation. Critically evaluating information and considering multiple perspectives, I think, is key to distinguishing actual truths from perceived truths. One of Jordan Peterson's YouTube videos shows him explaining the concept of critical thinking. Thinking is not just about sitting there idly imagining things. It's about having a conversation with oneself about differing arguments and concepts and figuring out which ones are valid and which ones we should get rid of. Here's a short clip of Jordan Peterson himself explaining what it means to think critically in order to get to the truth.
Basically what you do, and this is really what you do when you think, is if thinking is an internalized conversation, which at least is one form of thinking, is that you spin off avatars of yourself and you say, well, you take this position and you take this position and you take this position, and then you have each fictional part of yourself lay out the argument and argue it through.
I think it's easy for us to fall into the trap of thinking that our perception of truth is the actual truth and reality, when it clearly isn't. Our subjective worldview is always ridden with biases, false information, personal experiences. This is why we need to objectively look at all areas of our lives and make sure we are not being lazy in accepting the seemingly obvious truths, but rather use critical thinking and observation to get to the root of things that are of importance to us, and make sure we grasp the real truth. Alright, we're getting to the end. It's number 9, truth versus division and unity. Telling the truth and preserving unity are two values that can sometimes be in conflict with each other, seemingly. Telling the truth oftentimes means saying things that are rather hurtful or uncomfortable to hear. It may cause division and conflict within a group or society and expose, uncomfortable truths and challenge long-held beliefs. However, withholding to tell the truth can lead to lack of trust and credibility in the long run. I have seen many of those. In some cases, it may be necessary to have difficult conversations and to address uncomfortable truths in order to promote growth and progress. At the same time, it is important to strive to communicate truthfully in a way that is respectful and empathetic, and to work towards finding common ground. I've seen organizations that emphasize unity so much that they stop saying anything critical or opposing thoughts to one another. This inevitably leads to degradation of the organization, since whoever that was in power was able to wield the weapon of unity against those that tried to suggest any opposing views or ideas. We should understand that true unity comes when people are able to say the truth without fear of being called a diversive person or the one that breaks unity. Alright, now I come to my final point, the final number 10, which is distorted truth. Distorted truths are information or facts that have been altered intentionally in order to mislead or misinform people. I think it is so easy to stumble onto distorted truths in the modern society. Some examples of distorted truths include misrepresentations, such as YouTubers selling and marketing NFTs that are of no value to their uninformed and young audiences. There is also half-truths, in which certain information is withheld on purpose, which can be seen in many political debates and campaigns where they only show and cite statistics that support their position. There's disinformation, which is the spreading of false information deliberately to mislead people, which happened in loads during the COVID pandemic. And there's also propaganda, which are information that is used to manipulate the public opinion or to promote a particular ideology. Need I say much about propaganda in the 20th century? We are bombarded with propaganda every day by news outlets, media, government, and many more. More than ever, it is important for us to be aware of the possibility of distorted truths and to critically evaluate the information that are given to us and the information that we receive on a daily basis. So these are the 10 different aspects of truths, and I have part 2 coming up soon. I think understanding the importance of truth is one of the key aspects in our lives. Truth is perhaps being taken away from us more than ever, and realizing that it is our responsibility to preserve truth no matter what, in order to live our best lives and to preserve the well-being of our society. So thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and see you in my next video.